Hello and good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Roy Tech channel. In the last video, we created our first Windows application project in C Sharp using Visual Studio 2023. In this project, in this video, we are going to make enhancements to the project by adding control elements or controls in our main form. Let us proceed to opening Visual Studio uh, 2022 and open the project. Right away, the your your recent projects will be displayed. You don't have to open the project using this option anymore. You just double click on the recent project and it will be open. Now, remember that we always need to save whatever changes we need to our we apply on our project. Okay. Now, it is always recommended that whatever elements or control elements you add or component to your project, the first thing to do is to assign it a name. Like in this case, we have form 1. It's good that we change its name by right clicking and then clicking a rename. We call it FRM main because this is our main form. So we click yes. We usually start forms with FRM because there are other components like reports, no? And then we should be able to distinguish them from one another. Now, the advantage with renaming this is that as we create forms and elements in Studio, Visual Studio will assign them default names by naming the first form as Form 1, the next as Form 2, and maybe the first button as Button 1 and the second button 2 and button N. Now, the problem with that is it will be difficult to distinguish the buttons or rather the elements with number names. So it must be good to assign them names that we can distinguish. So in this case, we are naming it FRM main to mean that this is a form and this is our main form. Why are we starting with it with FRM? So that all forms will be grouped together and reports will also be grouped together in the sequence. Okay. Now, what do we see in Visual Studio? In the form, initially you will have the design view. The design view is a visual representation of how the form will look like when it runs. But actually, there's also a code behind this form. Okay, so all forms will be like that. There's a design view and there's a code view. To do a code view, you just click F7 or press F7. Okay, and what you see here is the code behind. If it has the same name, FRM main.cs, but this is a C sharp code, the code behind your form, and you see that your form is declared as a class. Okay, it's a partial class. Why is it a partial class? Because a part of the class will be displayed or rather stored in another file. We will distinguish that shortly. First, okay, we will identify what a namespace is. Okay, the namespace of a project is the project name itself. When you assign a namespace to a project, the components of your project will not have to identify uh, uh, a using indicator or a using reserve word. In this case, when you say using system windows.forms, we mean there's a namespace, okay, called system.windows.forms. In order for you to use the functionality of this namespace, you have to indicate using. Now we have a namespace called DB project. All files included in this project will not have to indicate using DB project because they belong to the same namespace. However, if you assign a different namespace, you'll have to specify it in a using clause, no, in the start of your project. Okay. Okay. And then this is called a partial class because actually, no, the every form is saved into two files. The first is the C sharp code, and the second is the designer C sharp code. This is the parts. This is the other component, okay, of the class FRM main. what's the difference? The frm main.cs will contain the code that you write, and then the frm main designer.cs will contain all components uh, that you assign, that you include, rather control components that you include in your form. Before we do that, let us change certain properties of this form. For example, the text in this form is form 1. We'll go to the properties window. We click on the form, we go to the properties window and look for the properties called text. Okay, we'll change it to main form. You can also change it to your application name. So now this becomes main form and you click the save button. Okay. Now, the first, what will happen if you click start? When you click start, Visual Studio will automatically create an application in your projects folder. It's in the OBJ projects folder. Okay, let's go to that. Now here's my C# main sample, and under OBJ you will have debug, and then no, this is DB project. I'm sorry, no, C# code will go to DB project, and you will have OBJ, and you will have debug. It creates an executable file using the name of your project. It's called DB project. Okay, when you double click that, it's the form that you created. Now the first thing that we'd like to do is to assign an icon to this application, because it doesn't have it has a default function. It doesn't look very attractive. No? Now how do we get an icon? We can either create it using an icon editor tool, or we can download it from the net. Now there's freepiconspng.com. Okay, that's the website. Let me check. Okay, I'm going to place the the description below. Okay, okay. Let's search that anyway. Free. Okay. Here it is. Here's the site now. Free freeicons.png.com. Okay, I'm going to put this in the, or indicate this in the description below. Okay, there's an advertisement. You just click it off. It's also in our Daigler site. No? There is freeicons.png.com. Okay, so for example, we can search for any icon we like. For example, warehouse. There are warehouses there. Okay, so for example, if you'd like to use a colorful one, so this one I think. Okay, we'll download this. Okay, just close the advertisement, and then in here you will have to download as icon. Okay, download as ICO. A PNG is the file format that is used for buttons and images. Now you go to your download button, download and then show the folder. It's good that you transfer the icon to your project folder. Okay, it will, so that it will later on, when we go to save this in GitHub, it will be included. Okay, so in our project we will have images, and we paste it there. Okay, so now we have downloaded an icon from free icons png. How do we attach it to our application? Okay, now we go to the project in Visual Studio, and then DB project properties, we click that, and then one of the uh, properties there is icon and manifest. Okay, we choose the icon, we browse, And then we go to the images part where we store, and then we click that icon that we need to specify. And then we click save. This is save all. This is the safest save. You can close this now and run. When we run, okay, the project is recreated. It's recreated, and then when we go to debug, there's debug. Now our project now has an icon. Okay, so I'm going to place the free icons PNG link in the description down below. Now, you may ask, can we also change the icon of our main form? Because this default icon, and it's obvious that this is a Visual Studio application because all Visual Studio applications use that icon as the default icon. Okay, so let's look for another icon in PNG, in free icons and PNG. Where's that? I'm sorry, I closed it. It's still here anyway, no? So we'll look for another warehouse, a truck. So we say a truck icon. Okay, this is a colorful truck. We want this truck. Okay, now this time, let's look at, go back to check for if it's an icon. Yes, there's an icon property. So we'll download it as an icon. Okay, so download as ICO. There's an advertisement. We'll just download this again. Now it's there. We show it in folder and transfer it to our images folder, so that we'll have an inventory and we can reuse it anytime. Okay, now we click on, going back to our Visual Studio, we click on the main form and we look for a property called icon in the properties window. There's the properties window. We click this and then we look for icons. There's icon. We just click the dot 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 and then click on the desired icon. And now we see we have an icon. Okay. When you run this, okay, there will be a new icon on your main form. Okay. Now before we end, let's add two components or two control elements. Control elements are the different components that you can put in your form, like images, labels, buttons. Okay. Let us create a label. We look for that in the toolbox. In the toolbox, there's the toolbox option. You click in the toolbox and you look for label. Okay. Now, like the form, you assign the new component a file, or rather a name. You can do that by clicking on the component and looking for uh, the name. There it is. No? We'll call it. Now, since this is a label, we'll start it with LBL. Okay, LBL title. So we know that this is a component for a label, and then we'll assign it a text. So we'll say my first project. Okay, you can align it. You can align it on center. Okay, like this. Center, and then you can change the font and the size by looking at the properties window. We have the font. Let's look at it bold. So let's say 20. Okay, and then you can change the foreground color. You have three sets: custom, web, and system. We choose custom. This is the most common colors. Now that's my first project. Okay. Now, when you save this, what happens in the background? If you look at your FRM main designer, okay, you have a new component added called LBL title. Look at that, no? So every component that you add will be added in the designer.cs file, and every uh, code that you write will be uh, written in the .cs file. Okay. Okay. Now, the resources are stored. Like all icons that you are stored in the resx file. Okay. The resources. Okay. So that's what happens. Now, let's go back to the design. We'll click this, and then let's add a button so that we can add a, a button click event. Okay. So let's go to our toolbox and find buttons. There's a button. Okay. Button one. First button. We'll call it first button. There should be no spaces. First. Okay. And then we label it first button. There's the text. The text is the label of the button. Now, can you also assign an icon this button? Yes, we'll do that using the image property. This time, there are two ways to do that. No, we use the image property or the image list. We will discuss image lists in the different video. Now, in this case, we look for a free icon. Okay, well, in free icons PNG. So let's look for a button. Okay, okay, okay. Subscribe. Okay, we'll use this. Okay, let's close the ad. Then download. This time we download as PNG because it's a okay because it's an image. Okay, we can also change it later to JPEG or BMP. Okay, and we put it in our images file, rather folder. Since we have the image, we'll just rename this as our image button. Okay, so we'll say rather subscribe button. Okay, and then we'll change the text to subscribe. We can even remove the text since we already assigned the image. We assign the image by looking for an image property. It's none currently. We click this, and then we go to local resource. Okay, we import, then there's the subscribe button. Okay, we'll make this longer. Okay, that's how to resize. No, you click on the small boxes there and then drag them. Okay, so now we save, and then if you look at the designer.cs file, we have one more button added. Okay, okay, and then we go to the design again, and then let's do let's create an event that will dictate what will happen if the subscribe button is clicked. How do we associate an event? Like in a web page, we assign buttons with events. How do we do that in C Sharp? We click on the button and then we go to the properties window and click events. And then there's a click event. We just double click this. Okay. For the moment, we'll use the message dialog, message box. Okay. Thank you for subscribing. Okay. We do that. And then we run. Okay. There are errors. What's the error? So it did not enough. Let's run this again to get the error. Would you like to continue? No. So we'll get the error here. Message box cannot be used like a method. Okay. I think it's very good. Okay, we'll do that. Let's do that again. Message box. Forgot the options for message box. Let me just Google that. Sorry for that. No, message box. You have to assign buttons and to the message box. Or is there a show message? There's a sample. Okay. Message box dot show. Okay. That's the right thing to do it. Message box dot show. Thank you for subscribing. Okay. And then we terminate with a SIM call. I hope it's alright, man. There's something to be. Maybe we need to use a double quotes. What's the error? Yeah. Too many literals, which means that we delineate or rather terminate strings with double quotes. Okay. I'm sorry for that. Single quotes are for characters. Just like C++. Now there we have it. And when we click, okay, there goes the event. Okay. You I hope you follow. So what have we done today? We have manipulated our form by first creating an icon for our application, and then we assigned an icon for our form, and then we indicated a label and a button, and we created an event for the uh, for the click event of the button. Now, in the next video, before everything, we are going to create a GitHub repository to create a backup of our project. In this case, we will just set our Git for individual access, which means that only one programmer or one user will be using it. But later, no, when our project gets larger, I will show you how to share your code in GitHub using the Git option built in Visual Studio. You don't have to use Git anymore because Git is already included in Visual Studio, and it's much easier to use because you don't have to memorize command lines. No? It's already embedded into Visual Studio. And then later, I'm going to show you how to uh, manipulate more uh, images using image lists. Thanks for watching and bye everyone. See you in the next video.